What's up everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about Karens, entitled people, and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe for more Reddit content if you haven't already, and as usual, let's get into today's stories. Steal my online tutorial? Hope you enjoy the new pics. Years ago, I was into creating replica movie props. I had created a tutorial for my website on building a movie prop gun using a kit I bought and the base airsoft gun. It was a step-by-step on how to use the kit and incorporate it with the gun, pics on every step, etc. I got a lot of positive feedback for it too. But I discovered, when checking my website traffic and stats, that another site was leeching my photos, meaning they had code on their website that href'd the images on my site, so they didn't have to host them, just point to mine. When I checked it out, I saw that they had copied my entire tutorial and made a post on their website claiming it as their own. So I did what anyone would do. I changed the images. Oh boy, did I change them. In my code, I changed the image names from image1.jpg to image_1.jpg, and changed my code accordingly to point to the new file names. My website looked the same. But then, I found some of the craziest and nastiest photos on the web and renamed them image1.jpg, etc. to match what code he had stolen and dropped them in the same folder. So now the thief has a tutorial that talked about making a movie prop, but all the leached images associated with it was a cornucopia of nightmare fuel, HR complaints, and violations of TOS on many servers. Oh yeah, it was nasty stuff. Now I just watched. The stolen tutorial was up for about 4 days until it magically disappeared. I think I might even still have screenshots somewhere. Never happened again. Seat stealer gets what she deserves. To preface, most of this incident happened in Bengali and Hindi. I translated as best as I could, but some things sound unnatural when translated, hence the English may sound unauthentic at times. Also, I wasn't there myself, but my cousin recorded Karen's rant, hence writing in detail was easy. While he was okay with me writing the story, he didn't want the recording shared, as it has enough to recognize him. So this happened to my cousin 2 months ago. He was flying from Ahmedabad to Kolkata, India, on Indigo Airlines. Since he's tall, I made sure to book him an exit row aisle seat well in advance, and even paid extra for it. Fast forward to the day of the flight. He boards, finds his row, and sees someone sitting in his seat. The entire row is filled, but there's clearly been a seat snatcher situation. Undeterred, he approaches the woman in his seat. Let's call her Karen. My cousin says, "Excuse me, I believe that's my seat." Karen, barely glancing up, says, "No, there's no way. I always book the aisle seat." "Maybe you're just in the wrong row. Mind checking?" Karen sighs dramatically. "Look, this is my seat. Maybe you're mistaken." My cousin firmly says, "Well, my ticket says this seat. Let's check with the flight attendant, shall we?" My cousin heads to the front of the plane and explains the situation to an attendant. She confirms that the seat is indeed his, but instead of escalating, my cousin decides to play it cool. He returns to Karen with a new idea. He says, "I spoke to the attendant. She confirmed it's my seat. But since you seem certain, she's offered me a complimentary upgrade to business class." Karen, suddenly interested, says, "Business class? Really?" "Yeah, though honestly I prefer the legroom in the exit row. Would you want to switch and take the upgrade?" Karen, grinning, says, "Oh, absolutely." "Great, just go to the front. Let the attendant know you're taking the business class upgrade meant for the passenger in 13C, and she'll get you all set." Karen hops up immediately, smugly grabs her bag and struts to the front. My cousin finally takes his rightful seat, and as he chats with the other passengers, they reveal they've been irritated by Karen's antics too. He shows them his boarding pass, confirming he's exactly where he's supposed to be. The twist? This particular Indigo flight didn't even have business class seats. My cousin knew that. So when Karen confidently asks the flight attendant for her upgrade, the attendant just looks at her in total confusion. Realizing something's off, Karen storms back, visibly irritated, and confronts my cousin. "Excuse me, you said there was an upgrade to business class." My cousin innocently says, "Huh? Are you talking to me?" "Obviously, you told me to go up there and ask for a business class seat." My cousin deadpan says, "Why would I do that?" Karen is huffing. Because I was, sitting in your seat, and you said, my cousin interrupting says, why were you in my seat? I clearly have 13C on my boarding pass. He shows it to the attendant who's followed her back. Where's yours? He asks. Karen's flustered now, trying to explain herself, but a fellow passenger jumps in. He's not lying. That's his seat, all right. The flight attendant, now visibly exasperated, politely asks Karen to show her boarding pass. Karen rolls her eyes dramatically, muttering under her breath about the incompetence of the airline staff. She makes a big show of digging through her purse, then her carry-on, and even her coat pocket, all the while huffing and sighing as if everyone around her were wasting her precious time. After a few minutes of this performance, she finds her boarding pass but clutches it tightly, refusing to hand it over. She then spins around to face my cousin, looking livid. Loudly, she says, "You, this is all your fault. First you try to steal my seat, and now you've embarrassed me in front of the entire plane." And the flight attendant says, "Ma'am, please just show me the boarding pass so we can sort this out quickly." Karen, ignoring the attendant, says, "Do you know how much I fly? How often I choose aisle seats because I need them?" She gestures around wildly. "But today I have to deal with some random guy who thinks he can just barge in and claim my seat?" Her voice is growing louder and passengers around them are beginning to shift uncomfortably. By now, Karen's frustration has transformed into a full-blown rant, complete with finger-pointing and accusations. She goes after everyone: the airline for hiring incompetent staff, the attendant for not knowing anything, and my cousin, who she calls a liar and a cheat. The flight attendant attempts to calm her down, reminding her that they're causing a delay. But Karen is relentless, her voice escalating with every second that passes. By now, nearly 20 minutes have gone by and the passengers around her are beginning to sigh and check their watches. Eventually, the captain is informed of the situation and comes over to assess the problem. The captain firmly but calmly says, "Ma'am, we need you to show your boarding pass right now or I'm going to have to ask you to leave the plane." Karen is shocked. Her face flushes as she realizes that her show isn't working. She finally hands over the boarding pass to the captain, who glances at it, then looks back at her with a raised eyebrow. "Ma'am, this says 22B. Your seat is 9 rows back, and it's a middle seat." There's a stunned silence as Karen's face goes pale. She tries one last-ditch excuse. Defensively, she says, it's so unfair. I'm under a lot of stress, and I can't just sit in a middle seat. I need an upgrade for this horrible experience." The captain firmly says, "Ma'am, either go to your assigned seat or you'll need to deboard." Defeated, Karen finally gathers her things, her face burning red with embarrassment as she walks down the aisle towards her actual seat in 22B. Along the way, she keeps muttering curses under her breath, shooting daggers back at my cousin and the flight crew. Meanwhile, my cousin settles back into his rightful seat, and the flight finally prepares for takeoff. Nearly getting killed from anaphylaxis. It's not a big deal. I am currently living with my fiancé and his parents. He is ill. I have injuries that I am recovering from that make it difficult for me to bend over and clean. I am there to be with him. That's why we're there. I wish it were not the case, but that's how it is. My mother-in-law knows this. Mother-in-law also knows that I am incredibly allergic to peanuts. If I come into contact with them and I do not have an EpiPen, I will die. My airway will close and I will die. Mother-in-law makes dinner one night from the store. This is a store that is notorious for having huge warnings on its products that state whether or not something has allergens in it. There is no way not to see it on the packaging. I thought I smelled peanuts cooking when I came downstairs, but I trusted that no one would give me peanuts. I was wrong. I took a bite of the food and there were peanuts. My lip and tongue immediately began to puff up. Mother-in-law was just standing there. I managed to get out. "Does this have peanuts in it?" She dug through the trash can to find the label that said in large print, "Contains peanuts." "I'm sorry, it does have peanuts. That's not a big deal though," she said as I rushed to find an EpiPen. An ambulance still had to be called because I could not find an EpiPen in time. As the paramedics are helping me out the door, she says, "Hey, you're walking." When I get to the hospital, I have to get additional steroids and antihistamines through an IV because the throat and tongue swelling won't go down. Then who shows up 2 hours later? Mother-in-law. She keeps asking the nurses and doctors how much longer it'll be. It's taking too long. She wants to go to bed. She's tired. I'm not sure what the doctors tell her, but she stops. Then 30 minutes later, she's at it again. Then I get discharged. The next day she asks, I just want to know, was it an actual peanut? No, I just faked my anaphylaxis for fun. I didn't tell her that. I told her that yes, it was a whole peanut and reiterated that any small contact is dire. I give up. I told my fiance that I have to get out of the apartment. I don't want to die because there's peanuts in my food and she thinks it's not a big deal. A woman called the cops on me tonight because I refused to give her a refund. I work at a Spirit Halloween. Literally less than an hour before I permanently closed my store for the season, a lady came in demanding a refund for a product she bought over a week ago. On the receipt she was waving in my face, it literally said, "All sales final after October 25th. I asked what was wrong with the costume, as I am usually happy to do a refund against policy for something legitimately defective, but nothing was wrong with it. She had bought a child-sized costume that said for ages 8 to 12 on the front for her 17-year-old son and demanded that I refund her for it. I refused, as it clearly states all sales final all over the store and her receipt. She got pissed off, started calling me names and telling me I was terrible at my job, then said that I was stealing from her and that she was going to call the police. I laughed in her face, because clearly she had no ground to stand on. She actually called 911 and wasted emergency dispatch time for this crap. The cops showed up. I told them what happened when they came in to ask, and they immediately took her outside and had to spend the next 10 minutes trying to explain why she cannot call 911 for a retail dispute, that I am not stealing from her and that she is not entitled to a refund against company policy. So effing annoying. Anyway guys, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. And if you enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit stories. So take care and I'll see you next time.